my goodness, you guys. I'm here. Can you believe it? I have had 3 weeks off. I wasn't expecting that, and I totally apologize. The tech got me, right? Actually, it's only been 2 weeks. I did the first week, but I didn't rewatch it. So if it had issues loading, I didn't check. Oh my gosh. So, what are we going to talk about today? You know, we're going to talk about my trip, but I've titled this Clouds or Castles in the Sky, right? Have you ever heard of that, right? It's a metaphor for daydreams, for the impossible, but it's also when you have an inspiring idea and you know that even though it defies the odds, it's worth the effort for you to pursue it. And that's kind of how I feel about life right now. If you don't know me, I'm Coach Tina. I am the founder of the Empowering Champions community. I do have a bit of a cold, so I'm breathing through that. But I started this community in 2021, and the whole idea was to build people up to help them learn, grow, and share their greatness. And you guys are here for a reason. And whatever that reason is, I want to know about it. I want to know where you are in the journey to getting your greatness out into the world. And we do it with crazy weekly lives. I motivate you. I inspire you is my hope to go after your dreams. Do the things that you care about. And those things you care about, they don't just happen, right? We have to do the work to get there. And so every month I lead you through a process to define what it is you want, to make a plan, have a strategy for how you're going to achieve it, and then voila, we do the work and we show up at the end of the month to celebrate and talk about what worked and sometimes what didn't, right? Because life is just like this huge experiment and we're all trying to get through. So, while I was away, why was I away? I went to Italy, followed by a trip to Romania. And today we're going to focus on a part of the trip that I didn't even think about, which was castles. Um, when we got to the place where we were staying in Sicily, it was dark. When I woke up in the morning, the beautiful countryside was just like you see in the movies, right? The rolling hills with lots of little plots of land where they're growing olives or growing some other crop, all in different angles, and it just was beautiful. And as my friend was telling me, looking around, we couldn't see the water from where we were, but she pointed up off to the distance and she said, and that's where the castle is. And as soon as she said it, I went, oh my gosh, I get to see castles. And I was just kind of thrilled about this thought of going to the castles. And so we did. We went to a castle, took a picture at sunset that was just incredible. And if you guys are wondering, my pictures are going to be going up. I don't do well with posting them while I'm on the trips. And so I'm going to be dropping a couple of photos every day to let you guys see. There was so much. Like if I just did a drop of 200 photos, that would be boring, right? I want to tell you the stories behind them because that's what I like to do. So you'll be hearing more about the castle that we went to in Salemi was where we were. So that was one of the ruins, actually, that you go in it because there's nothing around it. It's just a big open area and you can see some of the turrets and different things, but no fanfare like the last one we saw that you'll be able to see pictures of soon too. But the one that blew me away was about midway into our Sicily trip. We went up to Erice, Erise. If you want to look it up, I'm probably saying it all wrong. This was known as the city in the clouds. And so made me think of castles in the sky, right? Turns out it was actually a castle up in the sky. And at night, when you look up in the air, it just looks like it's a floating city. You can see the lights, but there's nothing in between. And it's because this castle was way up on the top. And Oh my gosh, it was so beautiful, you guys. So we went up there, and my friend who had been there for a couple of months said that she had never been up when it wasn't a whole bunch of clouds. So she could just, it was, you were like living in a cloud. But the day we went up, of course, was gorgeous. You could see all the way down to the water. Um, the views were just absolutely incredible. And you could see the castle. And the castle was just mind-blowingly beautiful. So um, this area actually has a strong history. I think they said like in the year 1000 from the Normans. Actually, I think it was the 1600s, um, because the oldest castles are about from the AD 1000 year. Isn't that crazy? Um, but this castle was known as the Castle of Venus, and it was actually built on an old Venus temple. And if you know Venus, she was the goddess of love. In fact, I did a little write-up. Let's see if I can find it, because I was reading it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. Uh, let's see. Ah, yes. Okay. Is it still up here? It is. What is this going to tell us? So spiritually, Venus represents love, beauty, sensuality, and value. Through the lens of the goddess Aphrodite, or Venus, you know how the Greeks saw it a different way, um, and the planet Venus, all of them had symbolism. So Venus signifies our desire for connection, pleasure, harmony, and governs our relationships, our creativity, and our sense of self-worth. Boom, right? So Venus is also linked to the feminine divine, inner radiance, and the spiritual journey of finding balance. Wow. So I'm up there on this hill, taking in these beautiful sights. Everything was just glorious, you guys. And I'm right by this castle. And I mean, it was magical. It was absolutely magical. And it was known as the city of the hill, the city of the clouds, was actually used for what they call sacred prostitution back in the day. They believed that the goddesses lived on the hill, and men would come up and do their thing, right? I don't know what sacred prostitution is, but it has an interesting sound to it, right? Like what? Why am I talking about this? Because castles in the sky, this impossible, this inspiring idea that makes it what you do worth the effort, right? It kind of reminds me of life, all areas of life. And so, let's pick that apart a little bit. Some of you know that in April, right before I went on my African experience where we helped the teens, I was let go from my job that I'd had for 7 years in the Air Force as a government contractor. And I took it to heart. I was like, this is the great opening. I've got all this stuff that I've been meaning to do. I have all these side businesses. I'm going to generate income. And then I got a little afraid, right? And I got curious. There's a lot of things going on. So I partnered up with a company that was trying to start a travel app. And before I knew it, all of my attention and energy and focus was on this other person's business, just like they tell you not to do, right? I had incredible promise of what was going to happen. I signed a contract for a lot of money, more than I ever have before. And I was super, super, super excited about the promise. Problem was, the reality of the work was it was drawing all of my energy away from everything that mattered. And I was feeling this pull. And then right before I left to go to Sicily, things kind of fell apart. Partly my fault, because I wasn't watching. I was so deeply involved in the work that I wasn't noticing that I hadn't been paid. And when I noticed it, I was like, hey, dude, you haven't paid me. I went and looked, and oh my goodness, not only had he not paid me for 1 month, the prior month I had made a mistake. And I thought a deposit that came in for the exact same amount was my pay. So it turns out it was 2 months of no pay. Now, I do a lot of crazy things in my life, but I don't work for free. Speaking of sacred prostitution, right? So then I really went into Sicily with this mind blown of what am I doing? I have put so much energy into something that isn't giving me the results that I need. Regardless of the promise in the future, it's not building me up the way it is. So I had this huge reflective moment in Sicily of being at peace with what it is I want, how I want to get it. In fact, my mantra the whole time I was there was, what does Tina want? You know, lately people have been asking me ever since I left my former job, what is it I do? When you meet, that's that question that comes up, right? And the first time someone asked me that, I panicked and I was like, oh no, what do I do? And then I was like, you know what? I do what I want. And I happened to be, and I remember saying it because the woman I talked to just thought it was great. She laughed. She said, I want to do that. And I thought, well, that's an interesting response. Well, I have been using that mantra ever since, and it sounds so good and it feels so good when I say it. So where are you in your life doing the things that you want to be doing, right? Not the things that you're being forced to do or you think are the right thing, right? So where was I going with all of that craziness, you guys? The good news is, in Sicily, I was surrounded by really good people, and my skill sets were coming out. The things that I wanted, that I was reminded of who I was at the core, right? And the people I was around supported that and built me up. We were at a retreat and we dug in deep, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful experience. So it brings me back to where we are now, and this metaphor of castles in the sky. So what's interesting is in my research, like, what does castles in the sky mean, right? Like, what is it related to? There's this whole idea of protection, and how we as humans, we build walls around us to protect us. But guess what? That fortifying that we do, it doesn't let people in either. And so I'm like the queen of building walls around myself, not letting vulnerability out. So working on that, what does it mean to just like open up those gates and just like experience life and not live in that castle like a princess locked in there, right? So that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, is the walls that you build. Are they doing you good, or are they holding you back from what you want to be doing in the world? Because this fortress, whether it's the fortress we're creating, or if we're seeing, you know, like there's a psalm where God is our rock and our fortress. He's our stronghold. He's our castle. That's the cool thing to think about, right? Like, are we trying to be our castle, or are we surrounding ourselves with the things that support us and hold us, comfort us in all of the things that we do? Because the cool thing about castles is they relate to vision, right? Like this impossible dream, daydream thing about castles in the sky. They exist. Like, it isn't just a saying. I was in a castle in the sky, and it all just kind of hit me that dreams and reality, there's a very thin veil there, right? But you have to keep building on strong foundations. And I say that because these castles, that one that I saw and all the others, there was something about them, right? They were intentional. When they were built with this idea that they were going to have a huge reason for existing. And that meant generation after generation after generation kept them going. That's legacy. Like, are you building a castle in your life? Or are you building like just a little wood shed that anybody can blow over or any storm or disaster can take out. What is that foundation that you are building? Yeah, it's a cool question, right? What's going to last? What's going to take you through? And how are you building that castle? And I say that because, so I got back from my trip, trying to get back in my routine. Of course, my timing is all backwards. And I'm getting up really early in the morning because I'm very, very tired at night. And in one of my mornings, I open up my Bible because that's how I like to do my study. And I open it to June 25th, 2025. So that's my birthday of this year. And I have this statement in there about how I am going to become an AI expert. And so I'm taken back to that moment where when I got back from Africa, the world was my oyster, right? And I sat down and I was like, what are all the things I'm going to do? And one of the things I allowed myself to do, my birthday gift to myself, was I went to Orlando. And I went to this AI summit for business. And that's where I said that I do what I want. That's where I dug into my 90 days of being an AI expert. And then I got distracted by, I thought what I was doing was applying those AI skill sets to a job that, or a promise that was going to take me really far. But it didn't. And so sitting back just a few days ago, looking at my Bible and seeing that I declared that I wanted to be an AI expert. Ironically, the same day that Dean and Tony are doing their AI summit, which some of you may have watched, they got out to a lot of people. And so I know that AI is one of the tools that I will use to build my castle. And I was one of the most resistant when AI came out. I was one of the ones that was like, I don't know. But I also know that this technology is here. All those movies that have foretold about it for centuries now, it seems like decades. We know that this is going to be the thing that changes everything. And so I could sit back and kind of watch it and be like, I don't think so. Or I can make sure that I am a forerunner in this technology, that I understand it, that I know how to use it, and most importantly, that I use it. Okay, that I use it. And my nature is not just to do something for me, it's to do something for everybody, right? So I will be teaching at a much higher, deeper level. I'm very intrigued by what Dean and Tony offered as a solution, like save 15 hours. And it really made my mind be like, do I have 15 hours to save? Like, what am I doing with my time? How does like they're making this big promise that doesn't even make a lot of sense to a lot of people. Because how can they help me save 15 hours a week if I don't spend 15 hours a week doing the business that gets me the lifestyle that I want? So, like, I have to go the step before that and build the life, like the business acumen that I need before all of the saving me time, right? I need a system that does 15 hours of work for me every day. And I need to know how to do it so that I can build multiple businesses that do save and utilize 15 hours a week. So that's kind of the crazy thoughts that run through my mind. Before I left, I was exploring this idea of when I was on the trip, how was I going to continue to work? And it turned out I didn't have to, which was pretty cool. Be careful the questions you ask, right? I was like, how could I go on this trip and not work very much? Here's an idea. But what I did say was, what if I only worked 3 hours a day? What if, and as soon as I said it, my little monkey mind went, no, 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 you have to work 12, 15 hours a day. Every breathing moment you need to be on the computer. You have to do this, you have to do that. And I went, is that true? It's a Tony trick, by the way. Always ask yourself when you hear it, is that true? And the reality is, it isn't. I'm wasting time spending so much time working because I'm not productive. I have a lot to do, and I just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. I'm not getting results. So I thought, if I only had 3 hours, I would have to prioritize the work that I do. I would have to be very, very specific. I would have to know, like I know what I was doing so that I wasn't spinning my wheels. And with that mindset going into Italy, I thought, you know what? What if I come back and I only work 3 hours a day? What if I force myself to be successful in just 3 hours a day? What would that look like? How would I have to up-level myself? What would I do differently? And now, as you can see, I'm traveling, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm going to castles, and we ended our trip at a castle, by the way. So really cool stuff. Dracula's castle, because we went to Transylvania. But this concept of 3 hours a day, I brought it home with me. And I came home to all of the AI hubbub. Now, see, I came home on the late night on the 4th, and I was supposed to go to the AI for Business Summit 6 months afterwards, right? In Las Vegas with my friend Mary. And I couldn't pull myself to do it. I didn't buy the ticket before we left because I knew that coming home, I would be exhausted, and then trying to go to another event. And I already knew I missed my husband. We haven't been apart this long, I think our whole marriage. So this was like preemptively, I knew I couldn't go, but I was feeling drawn, like AI, come back. And even though I was in this place that's like 60 years in the past, Sicily is like a time capsule. It's been amazingly preserved in the olden way of doing things. Even though I was in that place, I was still thinking about the tool that's going to get me to a place that I've always known I'm meant to be: a successful businesswoman, making money, doing my thing, not working for somebody else. And I'm going to make it a reality, you guys. This castle in the sky dream, I'm going to blend it with reality and travel and spend my time the way I want and be with the people I want, doing things that I want, helping teenagers not live a life suppressed because nobody was around them to help them believe in themselves. Yep, gonna change it all. So, hey, what have you guys got going on? Because I've been yakking about myself forever without any comments because of the technology that's so crazy. Would love to hear from you guys. Would love to hear your thoughts on things. And if you haven't yet scheduled a plant session with me, remember that's the free 15-minute session that I give with people. So you're welcome to jump on to the link. Search in the group for plant. You should see where you can schedule an appointment. And that said, I'm going to go ahead and end for the day. Don't forget, if you put #castle in here, then I will make sure you get on the links for some of these pictures because the view was incredible. All right, you guys take care.